Great news, the Classic Rock Show have been in touch and they have invited us to join them behind the scenes to see how it's all done. So welcome to Gigs and Guitars Backstage. My first video on this channel featured a visit to the Classic Rock Show in Liverpool, which was uploaded on the 14th of February 2020, which is what started it all off. Good morning everybody, my name's Kev Berry. I've seen this production many times, which has been on tour at the beginning of each year now for over a decade. It is a production that I as a musician always inspires me. Like many of its fans, I love the iconic setlist that never fails to impress. The sound and lighting are amazing, and the talent and skill of the artist is flawless in delivering note-for-note accuracy of each track performed. But for me personally, it is the overall experience that makes the Classic Rock Show very special, which is after all a celebration of great iconic music. But how is it all brought together? Well, CMP is a production company based in Liverpool who is behind the show and other great musical productions such as Jules Holland and Deacon Blue. A few weeks ago, I got a call from James Cole, who is a musical director and one of the two guitarists in the show, where we discussed their forthcoming tour. The conversation led nicely on to being invited to join them at their Liverpool shows to experience what goes on behind the scenes. Naturally, I jumped at the offer. We arrived in Liverpool on Saturday the 21st of January to watch their fourth performance of their current UK tour, which was nothing short of being excellent, as you know. I spoke to James after the show and he agreed to contact me the following morning with a time that we should meet at the Philharmonic Hall. I got a text from James suggesting that the venue would be open at 2:30 PM and that if anything changed he would let us know. As we had plenty of time to kill, we headed off into Liverpool's Chinatown to watch the Chinese New Year celebration, which again was an impressive spectacle. Actually, join us in Jimmy's Bar in Liverpool. We've just been to the Chinese New Year celebrations in the city centre here, and we are roughly about an hour before we meet James Cole from the Classic Rock Show. James messaged again to say that the venue had opened sooner than expected, so I grabbed my gear, along with my glamorous assistant Andy Mack, and we headed off to the venue's stage door. After a short wait in the reception area, James greeted us where we followed him through the rear of the building, past loading areas and dressing rooms to the main stage of the Liverpool Philharmonic. How's my hair, James? How's my hair? I went to the barber's the other day and she made a right mess of it. Stuck too much bloody off. Hi guys, welcome to Gigs and Guitars. We are at the Liverpool Philharmonic Hall in Liverpool. We are with James Cole today from the Classic Rock Show. So how are you today, James?
I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, at this point, I simply did not know how much time James had available, as he is obviously a very busy person. I was conscious of their schedule and I did not want to interrupt or distract him and his team from what they needed to do before that night's show. James agreed to talk about his role within the Classic Rock Show, being the musical director and that of being a guitarist and what gear he uses on stage. We set the camera up, attached a lapel mic to James and started recording. As the interview was longer than 30 minutes and very interesting, I simply did not want to cut it down in any way, as it gives a good insight into everything that we as fans want to know. This will be uploaded very soon, with the other interviews, so be sure to subscribe to avoid missing these gems of personal insights into what makes this a very special show.
No problem.
Thanks very much. Excellent.
Out.
Next up was Pete Thorne.
Let's try and keep it that way.
Who needs little in the way of introduction as the second of the two guitarists. Pete has a hugely successful YouTube channel that covers everything about guitars and guitar related gear that you really must see for yourself, if you haven't already come across it. Pete arrived with a cup of tea in hand where I wanted to know more about how his involvement in the band came about, than, for example, his gear, which has been extensively covered in a recent video by Premier Guitar. So what are your favourite tracks in the set that you're naturally drawn to? So you must have favourites within the set.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Wayne Banks, who is the band's bass player for many years, described his role in the band
Here, maybe. I don't know.
and how he approaches playing bass guitar and singing lead vocals at the same time, which can be problematic at the best of times. How do you cope with doing the vocals on a few songs now? Because you've done LaGrange, ZZ Top, last tour, and now you're doing Romeo and Juliet. How do you find that?
Well, I think we had a word earlier about first you've got to get the coordination together between the two things.
Tim Brown, who is now in his second tour with the show, describes how he got the job as the band's rhythm section.
I want to be in that band.
Right, yeah.
It took me 10 years to get in there.
But here, you've made it,
because I think for me, it's a case of I get to mimic all my favourite drummers. I get to play all of the parts. And
interestingly, how much preparation he put in to secure the job.
How many people have seen the classic rock show before? How many have seen it? Yes! Thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who haven't seen us, where have you been? Sarah, I'm looking at you. Where have you been? No, thank you so much for taking a chance on us. We're going to take you on a journey through classic rock music, if that's okay. I guess there's only one question left for you. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to interview the rest of the band as we simply ran out of time. Perhaps I might be able to do this at a later date in the tour. I was invited to watch the soundcheck, which was completely unexpected and a privilege to watch. We sat in front of the sound desk at the back of the hall, which is generally where the best sound experience is going to be. First up was their cover of One of These Nights, a track by the Eagles where James and Pete worked on their guitar harmonies at the beginning of the track. It was interesting to see that Pete looked like he was using a harmonising pedal to produce a second note over his own to produce a guitar harmony. When that was added to that played by James, it certainly sounded authentic. Wayne Banks then ran through his lead vocals on the Dire Straits' Romeo and Juliet track whilst playing bass. Then Pete, Wayne and Tim worked on their timing to the end of YYZ, which is an instrumental track by Rush and track 3 from their 8th studio album titled Moving Pictures. Bad Company's Feel Like Making Love was next up, where the guitar's introduction was looked at in terms of clarity over their clean tones acoustically and electrically. Rudy next came on stage to sing Journey's Don't Stop Believing from the 1981 hit album called Escape. Interestingly, they did it for a second time where James looked as though he increased the tempo of what is called a click track by increasing its speed. This is normal practice and often used by larger bands to keep the tempo of the song correct, which also has other useful benefits too. And that brought us to the end of our filming for the day behind the scenes. Andy and I spent almost 4 hours backstage with the Classic Rock Show, watching, learning and asking those questions to feed back to you, the fans of the show. Because without you, there simply wouldn't be the Classic Rock Show. Join us next time where we speak to James Cole about his role within the Classic Rock Show, being the musical director and also one of the key guitarists in this fantastic show. How did you manage to get Pete Thorne, who's a guitarist, YouTube sensation if you will, how did you attract him to the Classic Rock Show? So we hope to see you then. If you've enjoyed today's video, please think about subscribing. It will really allow the channel to develop really nicely. It really will. So I hope you will subscribe. Give me a like. Drop me comments. You'll always get a reply. And there is always time of the day for a brew. Cracking.